that he has difficulty ambulating, he has difficulty in doing any fine motor movements, and has difficulty in doing normal things of daily living like eating with a fork and a spoon, as well as handling cups or glasses.
I had a shield on, but it went in beside the shield and come down, you know, it was draining like down my face. Ken had to lead me to the break room.
He's got damage to his cerebellum, which is the site of central nervous system control of fine motor movements, and the reason that Keith has cerebellar ataxia. Keith also has autonomic nervous system damage, which causes his blood pressure to fluctuate widely. His blood pressure will fluctuate from 240 over 150 to 90 over or 60 or even lower without any medications and within a 15-minute period of time. Keith also has damage to his frontal lobes, which is responsible for his short-term memory problems.
The whole side of my head was swollen, and I couldn't hear. My ear was swollen shut. And I've had, well, the last time I was in the hospital, when they checked my stomach out because of my stomach problems, my ear was swollen shut again because I had the rash inside my ear, the same ear. And I've lost part of my hearing in my left ear.
Although we're not saying that Keith has Alzheimer's disease, his memory disturbance is very similar to that which you would see in an Alzheimer's patient.
They told me to go home, take a couple of days off, you know, with pay. I said, sure, you know, you would too, wouldn't you? If you work for somebody, they tell you to take a couple of days off with pay, wouldn't you go home? Well, that's what I'd done. And then I found out later that there was an inspection, that's why they sent me home.
It reminds me of spraying a fly with Raid in my comprehension of the whole thing. I feel guilty for these guys in here. I was telling them to do it. I was telling them exactly what to do, step by step. I thought it was okay, and you can ask me, well, you know, if you're all this smart and you can do this and that, why didn't you think something was wrong? Because I've held on to pine trees and vomited. I've been on the ground with Gordon Shatley in there, vomited. And they tell us to get into some fresh air. Well, I can't answer that question. I don't know why.
Are you angry with your supervisors?
No, I'm not angry with my supervisor. I think I got fooled the same way I did. I'm angry with the owner of the company.
Why?
Because I was deceived. And in turn, I deceived other people that should hate me. Like that girl her baby was born deformed. She said she's going to blow my head off with a shotgun. I didn't know what. How am I supposed to feel? And if I knew I was, but I'm not. I swear I'm not responsible for that. I'll get on a polygraph test. I'd do anything. My sister knows I'm not responsible.
He's just changed so much. He's depressed, paranoid. He just don't have a life left. He really don't. And it makes me so mad to think that these people knew all this was going on, and the owner of the company had experience from other company and knew that this was going to do these boys the same way. And all because he wanted money, he went ahead and done it, and now their life is gone. You take a 37-year-old man that just sits around and stares all the time, or if you say something to him, he takes it wrong and he's real defensive about it. And you have to be careful what you say, and they can't go fishing, they can't go hunting. All they've got to look forward to is just sitting in a room and staring, because that's all they can do. They don't have a life. Their life's gone. And if you only knew these guys before then.
It is my opinion, it's Dr. Clark's opinion, and Dr. James Cohn's opinion that Keith's neurologic problems are definitely caused by his exposure to toxic and hazardous wastes. The concern that we have is we feel as though the most likely single agent that induced this is auto fuel from the Navy. Auto fuel has in its constituents propylene glycol dinitrate, and if you talk with the workers, Keith included, whenever any of this auto fuel came up to the facility, it would precipitate severe pounding headaches, chemical or migraine type headaches. It would precipitate nausea, vomiting, imbalance problems, as well as difficulty with fine motor control. And as you know, auto fuel was the United States Navy was the #1 generator of wastes to Caldwell Systems Incorporated.
I would like to hurt them like they hurt me. I would like to put the owner's face in a bottle of auto fuel one time. Yeah. And just let him lay on the ground and throw up and be dizzy-headed and not be able to get up and his head hurt like mine does.
Here we have Keith up there working in short-sleeve shirts, short-sleeve pants, inappropriate respirators, inappropriate protective clothing, getting it splashed on him on a daily basis, inhaling on a daily basis, being exposed much like a guinea pig would be exposed in a laboratory experiment.
All this by way of introducing the fact that next door to Caldwell Systems was a farmer, Truett House. And Truett House's cattle began to die, and he had abortions, the animals had abortions and birth defects. And now I quote, "The faculty at the North Carolina State University College of Veterinary Medicine conducted an evaluation of illnesses, deaths, and reproductive problems reported in the Haas dairy herd, pastured near the facility. In their report dated November the 23rd, 1987, poor nutrition, poor animal husbandry, and lack of veterinary services were cited as the most plausible reasons for the problems." So Mr. Haas was a bad farmer. Tell that to Mr. Haas. But in Dr. Greg Smith's report, he did muster the courage and the muscle to blame somebody for this outrage. Quote, "Some of the numerous media reports have sensationalized the issues surrounding CSI and provided misinformation or incomplete information to the public." So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. The real problem at Caldwell Systems is that Channel 11 and other news reporters went in and sensationalized. Well, having been there, having met the people, if anything, Channel 11 understated that issue. And the people that were guilty of misinformation and incomplete information were your tax-paid state officials who were meant to be protecting you, meant to be protecting the environment, and I'm afraid that most of those officials are still in their positions right now, will be the same officials who will supposedly be watchdogging like little terriers what goes on around here. I wouldn't trust them to bake bread, let alone run or supervise a commercial hazardous waste incinerator. Now, right now, what is happening is those same state officials, the Dr. Littles and the Dr. Turners and the others, are positioning themselves, and what they're going to do is this: they're bracing themselves. They're bracing themselves to say, essentially, well, Caldwell Systems was terrible, it was bad technology, there was no air pollution control devices, and it was badly run, yes, and it was badly monitored, but this is going to be different. We're going to have state-of-the-art technology, we're going to have the best available air pollution control devices, and we're going to have a state official sleeping and awake all day at the facility monitoring. The response to that, we are busily documenting right now. I have sabbatical for a year. One of my tasks is to go to every community in the United States where they have a commercial hazardous waste incinerator, and there are only about a dozen. We've already covered about 7 of them, and document exactly what's going on with the commercial hazardous waste incinerators in this country. And let me tell you what we found out so far. It doesn't matter whether this is a little rinky-dink operation like Coldwell Systems, or this is a state-of-the-art facility like El Dorado, Arkansas, which had a test burn, if you please, which indicated that its destruction removal efficiency of certain specific compounds was 5,000 times better than what is required by this facility. They're getting exactly the same complaints from citizens. Black smoke, irritation of the eyes, coughing, respiratory problems, kids being rushed to hospital, throat operations where they had to put a hole in the kid's throat. And then, when they take the kid away from the state, the symptoms all clear up. And when the kid comes back to visit their grandmother or somebody, the symptoms start again. You don't have to be a scientist to recognize what is happening. You only need a pair of eyes. That's all. To know that there's something seriously wrong with this strategy. And I say it again, it may be possible to run an on-site incinerator with selective chemicals which do not contain metals, which do not contain chlorine, which you know what it is, you're used to handling it, and you use the best equipment, the best analytical ability, and the best professionals doing the job. You may be able to run such an incinerator safely. It may be possible to take one of these state-of-the-art commercial hazardous waste incinerator, and whilst it's passing its test burn, when it's finely tuned, when you've got the best experts present, it may be possible to get through this test burn. But if anybody out there thinks that that means that that's going to be operated correctly 24 hours a day, 365 days a year for the next 10, 20 or 30 years, A, that's incredibly naive, and B, you only have to go to these communities to find out the reality is not happening. And the thing I hold against Dr. Turner and Dr. Little and all the other people that are trying to ram this down your throat in this state is they haven't been to those communities. They haven't been to talk to those people. Let me just say this. It's my experience, whether you're talking about trash incinerators, or whether you're talking about landfills, or you're talking about hazardous waste incinerators in this country, there are people out there working 24 hours a day, night and day, for weeks, for months, for years. It changes their lives. And why? Half of them are doing it because they're concerned about these chemicals, they're concerned about what's happening to the environment, what's happening to their children, and the other half are doing it because they're incredibly concerned about what this process of pushing these things in, regardless of what we think about it, is doing to the democratic system in this state and in this country. These people are so arrogant, they cannot get the message. When they go to county after county after county in this state, and the population, to a man and to a woman and to a child, say, no, we don't want that facility, no, we don't trust the technology, and no, we don't trust you as state officials to look after us, they assume there's something wrong with you rather than recognizing there's something wrong with their technology and something wrong with their strategy. That's arrogance. And when you attach that arrogance to arbitrary power and start ramming through eminent domain to rip people's communities apart, take their land, change the rules midstream, right in the heart of democracy, we're looking at despotism. This is the action of despots to do this. And that has to be challenged. Now, I'm talking a language which does not sit and reside in Granville, or Iredell, or Rowan counties. This is a language which is understood by every citizen of North Carolina. And I urge you that the most important task that you have is not to beat this in Granville. You can beat this in Granville easily. But your decision makers in Granville are not going to make this decision. Nor are they going to make it in Iredell, and nor are they going to make it in Rowan. It's important to remain unified and strong, to unite all three counties in one battle, but your real task is to reach every citizen in North Carolina. Say it loud, say it clear. We don't want this technology, not just because it's in our community. That is where we begin. That's where everybody begins. That's where I began 5.5 years ago when they tried to build a trash incinerator in our county. It was in my county. I became involved. But I didn't stop with my county. I went quite a long way. But same with you. Most of you, yes, you get involved. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to apologize because someone is threatening your community, your health, your environment, your children. That's nothing to apologize about it. That's absolutely basic. It's fundamental to a human being in a free society. You don't have to say, I'm awfully sorry that I'm concerned that you're shitting all over me. I meant to say to you. Anyway, where was I? So the message, that's where it begins. But when you recognize that this technology is unsound, and again, if it was sound, if it was good, it would not have to be so devious. If it was sound and if it was good, they would not have to lie about it. If it was sound and good, they could talk about it with pride, they could describe it with pride, they could do it in the open. If it was there for economic and development reasons, there would be competition for this facility. So common sense says it's not good for you, it's not good for me, it's not good for anybody in North Carolina. So what do you do about that? How can you reach the whole state? You will have many discussions of strategies. But one of the things I urge on all the individuals here, the one thing that you can all do is to reach out to any friends and relatives that you have elsewhere in the state and ask them to get this concern. Ask them to write to the governor or to the particularly to their representatives in the Senate, in the Congress. It's not good for North Carolina. Say no to North Carolina. We can't trust the state to protect us. The evidence is there in Caldwell systems. We can't trust them to protect us anywhere in North Carolina. Say no to this. There are better ways. That's the kind of letter that needs to flood into the representatives in Congress and Senate. Please, that's the number one, and there are other things that you can add to that. In addition to that, this videotape here is available to you. It does, unfortunately, at this moment, have Iredell, Rowan counties as the third thing. There was no attempt in my part